Focus in on Michigan. Do you feel the Wolverines control their own destiny? Because we were talking about this earlier with Bruce Feldman, and he feels like they may not. What's your take here?
Yeah, I think this is going to get you the most divided answers out there. And it comes down to a hunch, honestly, because the question here's the scenario, right? You're asking me about the scenario where Alabama loses the SEC championship game, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's play that out. Alabama loses. Will Alabama be considered one of the 4 best teams in the country? Probably. Even with only the 8 conference games schedule, even the fact that their non-league game, Louisville, looks horrendous at this point. It didn't matter last year for them, and it probably wouldn't matter this year for them, except for the fact that the appetite out there amongst the power structure of college football is not there for a second team from the SEC. I actually believe that Michigan would go in that case because amongst the 5 commissioners, and I understand that the SEC wasn't quite on board with this with Greg Sankey, but I think that the commissioners are pushing hard for the conference championship to matter. And let's not forget that last year it was a 2-loss Ohio State team that was left at home as a conference champ and a 1-loss Alabama team. I think that played more to do with that decision, that played more a part of that decision than it did just conference champ versus non-champ. Who do you take? In this case, it would be Michigan as a 1-loss conference champ out of the Big Ten and Alabama as a non-conference champ with 1 loss. In that case, I would actually be on the side that Michigan would actually be included. So in going back to the beginning part of your question, does Michigan control their own destiny to get to the college football playoff? My answer would be they do.
And I would agree with you. And if they don't, I think there's something wrong with the way we're picking the 4 teams. But, Joe, I want to go back to this head-to-head competition between Notre Dame and Michigan. I have a problem saying that we discount a head-to-head competition based on when it happened during the season. I think that's a slippery slope to go down.
Sure.
Because when does it matter then? So should we say that head-to-head competition matters when it's been the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks? I think that's a dangerous precedent to say that you'd rank one team ahead of another, whether they beat them the first week or the last week.
Sure. And Coach, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I think it comes into play. And are you ranking teams for who would beat? You know, are you ranking them at 3 because you think they would beat them now, or based on what the team has earned the right to call themselves? In my own poll, right, I ranked Notre Dame ahead of Michigan because they earned it, and I'm not suggesting. I think Michigan would beat Notre Dame this week. That doesn't mean that I think that they should be rated higher than them. I am saying, though, that when you get into the resume battle and when you get into some of the advanced analytics that you looked at and the committee looks at, you can make an argument that Michigan right now is the 3rd best team in the country versus Notre Dame. But you and I adhere to the head-to-head, and I would certainly adhere to the head-to-head, and I have Notre Dame at number 3 right now ahead of Michigan. Having said that, I do believe Michigan would beat them if they played this week because Michigan is much better than they were week 1. Remember, brand new quarterback. You've got all these things going on when you get Jim Harbaugh with a new system in place. They're on the road. Really, it was the first quarter that ended up hurting them so badly against Notre Dame. What we saw last week against Penn State was maybe the best Michigan has played since they won a national championship in the late 90s. That's how well they're playing defensively. Offensively, they're continuing to get better. Now they're averaging over 35 points per game. So would I pick Michigan over Notre Dame this week? Yes. Should they be ranked ahead of them? Probably not.